The Himalayas, November 1951. Two British climbers, scouting a new way up Everest, drop onto a quiet glacier and find a line of footprints in the fresh snow. Each print is wider than a boot. Each one has what looks like a thumb. They lay an ice axe down for scale and take a photograph. Within weeks it will be on the front page of the Times. Tonight on Monster Atlas, the Yeti. Welcome back to Monster Atlas. Every few nights, I take one monster from the world's folklore, where it came from, the people who swore it was real, and the truth hiding underneath the legend. Tonight we leave the deepest sea for the highest mountains on Earth, where four countries meet the snow and the sky, and where the locals have always known a tall, hairy stranger walks the ridges. The Yeti is the great hairy hominid of the Himalayas, a tall, upright creature the Sherpa of Nepal and the peoples of Tibet and Bhutan have spoken of for centuries. The name comes from the Sherpa yeh-teh, rock animal.
And it's the same creature in all those countries?
Roughly. The Sherpas describe more than one kind. The meh-teh is the classic upright yeh-teh, the dzu-teh is larger and four-footed, blamed for taking yaks, and the telemar is a small one of the wooded valleys.
And in Bhutan?
In Bhutan, he is the mi-goi, the strong man, said to walk backward in the snow to confuse anyone who follows. This isn't a creature people half believe in. It's one they have rules for. The Yeti story is genuinely old. Long before any Western climber reached Everest, Tibetan Buddhist texts wove him into the ancestry of the mountains, a wild cousin to humanity. They weren't inventing him for tourists, they lived with him.
So when does the West first hear of him?
1832. The British naturalist Brian Hodgson, in northern Nepal, reported that his guides had seen a tall, dark-haired figure walking upright through the forest. Baffled, he guessed an orangutan.
And the name everyone knows, the Abominable Snowman? Where does that come from?
From a mistake. In 1921, a British Everest expedition under Howard Berry found enormous footprints high on the mountain. A Calcutta journalist, Henry Newman, mistranslated the Tibetan name, which meant roughly a man-bear of the snow, as Abominable Snowman. The name went round the world.
So abominable isn't a Himalayan word at all. It's basically a typo.
Essentially. For the Sherpa, the Yeti was never abominable, he was real, sometimes sacred. For the West, he was a headline. Then comes the moment that fixes the Yeti in the modern imagination. Eric Shipton and Michael Ward, scouting a route to Everest, drop into the Menlung Basin and find footprints. Almost twice the width of Ward's boot. And strangest of all, each print seems to have a thumb, a toe pushed out to the side, as if the foot could grip. They photograph it with an ice axe for scale.
A foot with a thumb. That is genuinely strange.
In December, the Times prints the picture, and the Yeti goes from Sherpa story to global obsession overnight. Through the 50s and 60s, expedition after expedition heads into the Himalayas, and not one comes back with a body. Only more footprints.
Footprints, but never the animal.
Always the tracks, never the walker, which is, in a way, the perfect Yeti story. So, was any of it real? There is a real animal at the heart of this legend, and most researchers now think they know what it is.
Now I need to know.
A bear. The Himalayan and Tibetan brown bears stand upright on their hind legs, have long shaggy fur, and share the very ridges where the Yeti is seen. Reinhold Messner spent 11 years searching, and after his own tree-line encounter, concluded it was a bear.
Just a bear? Has science actually tested it?
It has. A genetic study read the DNA of museum samples labeled yeh-teh. Almost everyone turned out to be an Asian bear, mostly Tibetan brown bear.
And the famous Yeti scalp, the one at the monastery in Nepal?
Edmund Hillary took it to Chicago in 1960. Zoologists found it was a ceremonial cap, sewn from serow hide, a Himalayan goat antelope. But the lovely part, the villagers asked for it back, and it still sits in Kumjung today.
So the Yeti isn't fake, is a few real animals stitched together by a real mountain.
That's it exactly. The Yeti is what an honest, awestruck people see when they look up at the largest mountains on Earth and refuse to call them empty. And here is what surprises people. The hairy, upright stranger isn't just Himalayan. He walks the edge of nearly every great forest and mountain on Earth.
Every country has a Yeti.
In the old-growth forests of the American Pacific Northwest, Bigfoot, the best-known cousin of all. In the Caucasus of Russia, the Almasty, a wildman Soviet scientists once tried to track. In the cloud forests of China, the Yeren, the wild man of Shennongjia. In the Australian bush, the yeh-teh, in Aboriginal law long before the settlers arrived. In the Rhine forests of Sumatra, the orang pendek, that short person. In India's Meghalaya hills, just south of the Himalayas, the Monde Burung, the forest man. And in the passes of Pakistan, the Baremanu, halfway between a yeh-teh and an Almasty. And one most people miss. Japan has its own quiet yeh-teh, the Hibagan, a small dark-haired figure sighted around Mount Hibar in the 1970s, west of Hiroshima. A perfect bridge to our sister channel, Yokai Night, where the monsters of old Japan get their evenings.
So everywhere there's a deep forest or a big mountain, someone saw a tall, hairy stranger walk out of it.
Everywhere. So tell me, what walks at the edge of the woods in the stories where you grew up? The Yeti has no single shrine, but if you go looking, you'll find him. In Kumjung village, on the route to Everest, you can still ask to see the scalp, and the monks will bring it out. A goat antelope cap, in every formal sense. In every meaningful sense, the Yeti.
And the mountain people still take him seriously?
Seriously enough that in 1998, Bhutan set aside a vast wildlife sanctuary in the east and listed the Megoi, the Bhutanese yeh-teh, by name among the creatures it protects. A national government, formally protecting the home of a yeh-teh.
A country that built a national park for a yeh-teh.
And the last thought. The Yeti is one of the very few monsters whose home country never stopped believing in him. And that is its own kind of truth. For a creature almost no one has truly seen, the Yeti has had a full life on page and screen, and some of the warmest portraits are the oldest. In 1960, Air J sent Tintin into Tibet and gave us the Migu, a lonely, kind Yeti who carries a plane crash survivor to safety, gentle, not abominable. The screen Yeti arrived just after. Hammer Films released The Abominable Snowman in 1957, with Peter Cushing leading an expedition and finding something far more dignified than the audience expected. Then came the cuddliest Yeti of all. Pixar's Monsters Incorporated gave us a snow blue gentleman who insists, very politely, that the correct word is adorable. And Smallfoot flipped the camera around entirely, a whole Yeti village convinced that humans are the real legend. Games keep him fiercer. Far Cry 4's Valley of the Yeti sends the player into a Himalayan basin overrun by them. And in Dragon Quest, the Yeti has prowled the snowfields for decades, a white-furred monster waiting in the blizzards.
From abominable to adorable in 70 years. He's been busy.
That was the Yeti, a footprint in the snow, a mistranslation that became a household word, and a mountain people who never stopped looking after him. If you enjoyed this, do subscribe, a new monster from somewhere new, every few nights. And if you'd like the same evening, But in old Japan, the rivers, the rooftops, the long-haired ghosts on the night road, that's our sister channel, Yokai Night. Next time on Monster Atlas, we leave the high snow for a hot, dry desert on the other side of the world,